Welcome, beloved, to Divine Message, Part 1. I hope that there are some whose eyes are not quite covered with dust, and they will perceive the truth of what I say. Glory to the Book of Light. Glory to Divine Message from the true God Nirvana. It was clear, dear friends, that throughout the millions and billions of years, but also the recent couple of thousand years, that the one truth that once ruled us all was split by interpretation into the different sciences and religions and philosophies of today. But the time has come now to unite them again. And that is why I'm here for, or what I'm here for. First of all, excuse my very bad English. I hope to transfer that message to you. It unites all religions in the world. And I hope with it to end all religious wars. It is also, dear friends, a teaching of detachment. And that is why we call the first part the power of detachment. Now, this entire world is a world of necessity and attachment. We can only live when we are attached. Everything in nature is attachment. Yet it is changing. The question arises, who is attached and who experiences the change? And there we have two. Taken our physical body, we have the being and the body. The being and to which it clings. The monad, as we call it. The spirit, as some may call it, and the physical body. But, according to the Book of Light, even spiritual existence is material. So, we separate the true being, which is beyond the world of appearances, from everything in this world of appearances, heaven, hell, and earth. And when the being leaves the source, it falls into material world, surrounds itself with material world, and is aided during its existence with other vahans, upadhis, vehicles, however you may call it, in order to survive in this world. Book of Light teaches each being has 7 layers. Physical body, etheric body, astral body, high astral body, mental body, spirit, and soul. Would be one way to explain how the being itself is surrounded with layers. Other systems count 10, other 4, doesn't matter. All of them are those to which you are attached. And now I ask you to detach, and you may say, why? I want to keep them. Well, you can't keep them. They will be ripped away from you life after life. And your desire for them leads you back into reincarnation. You may say, that's wonderful. When I come back, what's better? The best that can happen to me. But because you don't know the laws of this transient world, the true laws of karma and reincarnation, you may achieve a return that is not so pleasant. Because you see, and this is the first lesson, divine message from the Book of Light, and divine message from the true God Nirvana, We leave the source and we return to the source. Therefore, for the Book of Light, for all of us, nirvana is the highest. And if we define the highest to be God, then nirvana is God. And what leaves nirvana is what the church at best worships as God, the first emanation, the first spirit leaving the source, falling into material world, and then everything appears, and all the other spirits or monads follow, so forth and so on. We talk about that in detail, but for now, we want to understand if we detach, we should understand from what we detach. Maybe we detach from something that we shouldn't. That's not good. The self can only detach from what it is not. The hand cannot throw away itself. So. Therefore, we better define not what am I, but what am I not. The Sanskrit word is anatta. And when you can decide what you're not, you can, in meditation, detach yourself from it and gain dominion over that to which you have been detached, to which you have been attached until now, and which has gained dominion over you for so long, for so many lives. It made you believe you are the body. You're not the body. You have a body. That's something else. You cling to the body. That's something else. You're attached to the body. That's right. That's right. And now I ask you to detach from the body, not in that you commit suicide, but so that you can attain more control over that which brings so much suffering in the world. Look around this crazy world. Crazy world ruled by crazy people. These are people who are in dominion of their anatta. That means they are ruled by their anatta. They're ruled by their non-self, as we say it in Buddhist terms. They have lost the power over it. It grabs them, it attaches them, so to speak. It's truly true. So we talk here about regaining power over our passions, desires. And I am the master in being attached or having been attached to my passions and desires. Believe me, if you look for a master in that, you got it. So therefore, I feel authorized by the glory and power of the great Chohan who dictated to me the Book of Light, that you can download at no expense, right here, all 5,500 pages. They explain the entire universe to you, how it arrives and how it arises and passes away, so that you know how the machine works, in order that you want to detach from it and not return. Or the other opportunity or possibility is that indeed you can return to it, but wiser, with, you see, constantly in control. Not like most people, they are thrown back into next life as a result of their passions and desires, and then they suffer, because you see, everything returns back on the ascending arc to the source, to the spiritual source. Let me emphasize that. All material substance is more and more refined by natural radioactivity enforced, and mankind will soon be sexless, be more and more spiritual, as we were before. And the homosexuality and the intersexuality, these are just in between steps of evolution back to the spirits that we are when in manifestation, that we can be. We can be a spiritual being. Of course, you will see that in our lectures, when you're radically detached from everything, then you're not even the spirit anymore. What are you then? That's what we will find out here. See, religious people hope for eternal life in heaven, in a spiritual body. I must disappoint them. They may live in heaven as long as they want, but it's transient. As your Bible is already telling you, your Quran is already telling you, just got to read it with the right understanding. All the heavens are rolled up again like book roll. That's what it says in your occult texts, dear friends. This, you have the choice now. You continue listening, then your life will never be the same. Or just stop here. If you feel this is not for you, just stop it. And go your way and be blessed and all the luck to you and do whatever you want. This is radical. This you will have never heard before. Never, nowhere. We have the great Book of Light, 5,500 pages, handwritten, mostly handwritten. And we have also, for all those who want a radical detachment from this and any other world, the little book, Divine Message from the True God. For some of you, it may come immediately like a shock. The curtain will fall. Others may need longer. Both of you will be aware of one fact. Your body, mind, etc., emotions, are not you or yours. Your eye, your ear, your tongue, your smell, your nose, even your thinking are not you. You don't, how can I say that? You are not your thoughts. You are not your brain. You just use it. Brain and thoughts are nothing else but extinguished matter in different vibration. Thoughts are things. When you understand that you are not all these things, when you truly understand that you are not your body, emotion, mind, soul, and spirit, you have two choices. Either you cling wisely to it, or you begin the path of detachment. That's what we are talking here in our lecture. Because when you don't cling anymore, you will be free from all suffering. And we will define what is suffering, dear friends. Life is suffering. There is not even life. There is not even living. There is only dying. And the beginning of the dying process is birth. And the end of the dying process is death. So it's called nature, from the Latin natura, born, birth. It could also be called mortur, to die, mortur, to die. Is this bad? No, that's not bad. Because you can't die. You can't also be destroyed because you were never created. Only that to which you cling, with which you identify yourself, that can be taken away from you, ripped away from you, in this case, life after life, and that can die. But you identify yourself with that, and so you cling to it, and you get it again. Dear friends, have you ever heard such words? Glory to the great Johann. This goes deep, dear friends, because it goes to the core. The answer to your question, who am I? Now, anyone whose answer begins with "you are" is immediately wrong. If you have a seminar where they tell you, we tell you now to find yourself, we teach you who you are, you can say, or you can define, these are, willingly or unwillingly, consciously or unconsciously, frauds. I don't care how great the guru is. When he stands in front of you and says, you are this and that, he's wrong. He's wrong. The self cannot define itself. You cannot find yourself by cognize or by cognition. Because every cognition is directed from the one who cognizes away to that which is cognized by him. That's how it works. So therefore the cognizer cannot find himself. Whatever he's aware of is not him. Like when you drive with a car at night and the light shines away from you. That's how you see where you have to drive. And that's how you are aware. You can compare that to the self, looking out to what it is not, to the transient groups, to non-self, to anatta. That with which mankind, all beings, all angels, everybody, identified themselves for so long. Because they identify themselves with that, they cling to it and they'll get it. Over and over again. But is that satisfying, dear friends? Is this satisfying? To be born to live and die. To be born to live and die. To be born to live and die. How long? Or you may say, oh, I like it, it's okay. Good. Then it's not for you. Rather, it may even be more so for you, because you will find here how to reincarnate smart, if you want it. But you have also the other choice, not to come back. That much I tell you. In order to detach, we would have to understand who detaches from what. Otherwise, we are just theorizing here, and some pseudo-occultist seminar who teaches you from thousands of dollars how you can find yourself. You can never find yourself. It's a complete lie. What you find is what you're not. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You can detach from that until you don't identify anymore with it. That's possible. That's possible. That's what you learn here. That's what you learn here. And it costs you nothing. Well, people have that thinking, if something doesn't cost anything, can't be worth much. Can't be worth much. No. Good. Then leave. I am happy with one who understands me, rather than 5,000 who listen and no one understands. Now let's see. Who detaches from what? Atta, say, detaches from anatta. The self from the non-self. We call that self monad. It's indivisible. It's this, you cannot say what it is. You see, I was daring to say what it is. You can't. You can only detach. You, the monad, you, the self, who evolves from inside outside, can either re-evolve again, or you can stop that process. That's up to you. It's up to you. You see, the self, what I can say is, it's not material. See, that's what I can say. See, so if somebody says, the self is this and this directly, he is wrong. But if somebody says the self is not this, if somebody adds to the self is one word, not, he's on the right track. He's on the right track. What arises and passes away, I cannot be. Otherwise I would not be aware of the arising and passing away. As I'm aware now, I have a pneumonia, my lungs don't work very good. Well, I can see, I don't want that my lungs don't work good. So obviously something happens without my permission. So I cannot be that. I may not have control over it or whatever, but I was a baby, I was a teen, I was an adult, and now I'm old, 73. Nevertheless, before I had the pneumonia, I did every day 4 hours karate. I was a teacher once. A couple of weeks ago, I ran the stairs to the 5th floor faster than the lift. Now, try that. But it doesn't matter, because you see, I'm talking about what I am not. Because if I would be the body, I would not have pneumonia. I wouldn't want it. I would be king over it. But I have it. See? That's the difference. Now we can say that the being itself, we call it monad. You can call it X, Y, Y, Z, whatever, because you can't name it. So you just give it here a name, so we have an anchor from where to begin, and to say whatever you are aware of, including your body, whatever you are aware of as arising and passing away, that you are not. Mike Tyson said in an interview, I have become humble. The interviewer said, why? He said, I was so powerful. I was the king in the ring with all my mistakes, with every crazy thing I did. But now if I would go into the ring, they would knock me out. So something has changed. With whom or with which I identified, he said. This man, when you hear him talking, he talks more eloquent than any poet. The change that has happened in him to the better has made him a philosopher. He is on tour all alone with the show. His wife manages him. He talks about his life. And you can see that which he is talks about that which he is not. He doesn't know about that, if you would explain it to him, because he has not yet that far dug into the thing. But what happens is, as being aware of the change that happens in him, he withdraws more and more to his true self. It's the wonder of Mike Tyson. When you find time, you go to YouTube, you look at the earlier interviews now. From now on, the interviews. Or the last 10 years, maybe, or 5 years. Last 5 years. You will be amazed. You will be amazed. So we, from the Book of Light, say that the being is not substantial. You have here always not. It's not substantial. You could say this is unsubstantial if you want to, but it's not substantial. Nisvabhava. Nisvabhava is not substantial. So. And that to which the not substantial clings is the substantial. That is how we could cautiously come closer and closer to what we really are in defining what we are not. What are you not? Every 5-year-old can understand it. Whatever you are aware of arising and passing away, that you are obviously not. Otherwise, you would not experience the change. Where did we come from? From the source. We call it nirvana, and for the first time in billions of years, the source speaks directly to us, just say through us, with a little book, Divine Message from the True God Nirvana. And that little book is, of course, also contained in the huge mothership, you could say, the Book of Light, Book of Books, and Savior of mankind. Now, when I say nirvana, it means destroyed, but you are not destroyed there. Your desire is destroyed. Your desire for what you are not. Your desire for body, mind, emotion, spirit, soul, all these exist, but they are transient illusions. But as illusions, they exist. See, I always am amazed, or I smile at those gurus who say, your physical body is an illusion. Take a needle and stick it in his behind. Let's see what he says. Not too fast, of course. Yeah? Let's see if he still says it's an illusion. A Maya. Yeah? 3 things are there, teaches the Book of Light. All beings, the source, and root matter. Sanskrit, Mula Prakriti. Keep that in mind. These 3 are uncreated, timeless, eternal, and they interact periodically. Then we experience something like the Big Bang and all these things. But it's not a real beginning, it's just a reawakening. I have always one problem when I talk about that. I sidetrack. Often said the Mahachohan to me, I asked him a question, he said, "You fool! Sit down and write." And I wrote what he dictated to me. I hope you are not too much smitten by what I say, or you think maybe that can't be. Well, then, see, there's still time to jump off the train. The train is not... See, one of my greatest hits in Germany, many million records, was A Train to Nowhere Land. Es fährt ein Zug nach nirgendwo. Still you can jump on and off the train. But it's going faster and faster and faster. Watch out. Watch out. Time may come where you can't jump off anymore. Then you are drawn into the vortex of knowledge, the Book of Light. And you see, we aim here in detaching for the highest goal. And it is intimately interwoven, of course, with the teachings of the Buddha. The Book of Light teaches 311 trillion, 40 billion years of human and cosmic evolution. More than half of that time has gone. And throughout all that time, the being, the monads themselves, ran their course on planetary chains and so forth and so on. And the source of which I speak was discovered by the first time by Gautama Buddha. Until then, the highest was Brahman. Until then, the highest was that which had left the source. That which is called or defined by our churches maybe, and by religion and Quran and Bible as a God. Though there are so many gods. Heaven is full of gods. Each solar system is a manifestation of a God, and so forth and so on. But for the Brahmins, the highest was Brahman, the first spirit that appears at the reawakening of the universe. And the root is Brihi, that means also to expand. Means also prayer, but expand. So the spirit expanded into root matter. And the first light appeared. About that we will talk another time. Right now I just want to make you aware that that first emanation was always the highest until 1000 BC, and the Vedas and so forth and so on. No? That was for them the highest. And there was a detachment process defined about which I talk now, but the end point of detachment ended in the union with Brahman. And what is the difference? In the Book of Light, and of course interwoven the esoteric teaching of the Buddha, we teach that the highest is that from which Brahman emanated, from which Brahman came, which was left by Brahman. And that Brahman will be drawn in again in about 150 billion years into that source. And because that source has the power to expel and to inhale, if you wish so, the cosmic breath, that Brahman and everything else, this is why the Book of Light declares the source to be the highest, and not that from which the source derives. You see the difference? And you see also the reason why the Brahmins hate Buddha, because he revealed to them, hey, there's something higher. You think your union with Brahman is the highest? Wonderful. He reached it in meditation, and the Guru said to him, now you have reached all. Go and teach. And Buddha left and wanted to teach, but he said, there's something's wrong. There must be something more than something which leaves the source and is drawn in again. That something more is the source, and I want to reach it. So he sat under the Bodhi tree, and he detached from everything. He reached the union with Brahman, and there was a development in the third eye, a quantum leap. And he saw in the future of the realm of spiritual beings. And he saw them disappearing. And he said, you are transient. And they said, no, it's eternal heaven. You are transient. He continued meditating, and he reached the abolition of perception and sensation, nirvana. And he was not destroyed there, because nirvana means destroyed, but just his desire was destroyed. Yeah, he had overcome even the desire for the union with Brahman. So, even the desire for the union with the highest that the Brahmins have. You can imagine that they did not like him and don't like him. Buddha said, nirvana is the highest. We come from nirvana, we go to nirvana. You can practice that in meditation, taught in the Book of Light, by the way, in soul breath meditation. Book of Light has many branch scriptures. And then you detach even from your spirit. And you're not destroyed. Because the Buddha reached many times nirvana. Returned, taught to his disciples, and meditated, and went to nirvana, which is deep inside, and you'll be deep inside. See, dear friends, this is not only esoteric or whatever, occult. This is scientific, because it also challenges our scientists who waste billions and trillions of dollars in looking for the origin of the universe somewhere out there, while they could feed hungry children meanwhile, when the core of the universe is in you, in each of us. And in meditation you reach it. the more you look outside, the more stupid you are. You are like a person who looks for the ground of the ocean on the waves. But you won't find it. You won't find it. And because the truth is so simple, almost no one wants to know it, first of all. And then the true satanic rulers don't want you to know it. Because it would liberate you. It would liberate you from their enslavement. That's what it is. And dear friends, I want to make you free. You are slaves right now, bound to that with which until now you identified yourself. Bound to that which arises and must pass away, no matter how much you struggle. It must pass away, and it will. Isn't there in any of you the desire to have a situation where nothing can anymore be taken away from you? I beg you. Could it be? Is Calderon right? A great Spanish writer. When he says all life is but a dream, and every man I see dreams all his deeds and nature. The king dreams he is a king, and deeply sunk in such dream, commands and rules and governs, and all to him are subject. And yet his fortune to dust is turned by death, with also as a dream, that death, which also as a dream, forever threatens him. Of their wealth the rich dream, and yet they have no peace. The poor on earth dream of their bondage and distress. He dreams who starts to rise, who is afraid, and runs, who loves and is afire with hate. Thus, in this wild world, what all are that they dream, although not one discerns this. Indeed, all life is but a dream, and even dreams are just a dream. Dear friends, there's of course a lot of truth in it, because you see, when we see something that we are not, we see an illusion. Otherwise we would see reality. Think about that. And what do we see? What do we experience? We experience the rising and passing away all around us. The young person says, well, yeah, now I'm 15, 16 or 18, and that period of youth is so intense that it seems not to end. So it has this forever young feeling. And some who are already a bit awakened are aware that it won't last. And they take drugs and all this and that to escape that thought. But you can't escape the truth. First you have to know it, and then you have to apply it. Here's truth. You have to understand what you are not. And you have either to cling wisely to it or to detach from it. Or to detach from it. That's your choice. And you see, in order that you can choose, I want to, because we talk here about detachment, I want to see this entire thing from the point of view of detachment. Of course, in this world of attachment, it's almost perverted. If you go to the Oscars, to the Bambies, to this and that, everywhere, show business, glitter, this is the world of attachment. I talk about detachment. Well, let's start with that. Later we talk about attachment. When is somebody truly awakened? When it does not identify himself anymore with the transient groups to whom he is clinging. Excuse my horrible English. See? Then one is awakened. If he is aware of the fact that whatever he is erroneously identifying himself with, that he is not. Anatta. So then he has awakened, he is, you could say, Suttapa Buddha. Suttapa Buddha. He is awakened from the dream of sleep to the supreme reality. But you see, that supreme reality mostly does not come from one second to the other, although it happens. It happens, it can happen, but it is a development step by step. Like you climb a mountain, the higher you climb, the more you can see. But on top you can see everything. Before not. Good. So, and then you have Suttapa Buddha. And you are awakened to the supreme reality. Then you really may think you woke up from a dream. And not only to that you have been awakened, but to highest knowledge, see? There's very difficult to detach without knowledge, although it is possible. I just say to you right now, a simple shepherd came to the Buddha. He was the one who reached first nirvana. There were others there, young people, old people, educated people. That shepherd. The Buddha said to him, sit down. Come, friend, he said. That was the initiation. Sit down under that tree. Close your eyes. Observe everything what happens. Don't interfere. And be aware, whenever it happens, it's not you. This man reached in about 3-4 weeks nirvana, while others may have needed a lifetime. That's up to you. This is how ready you are. Or are you just curious? Oh, let's see what Lanu is saying. He's talking about detachment. Yeah. Well, then it may take a little longer. Yep. You see, we are asked here to make a judgment. Because we ask the most important question in the world, who am I? And the answer is immediately a correction. Don't ask in such a way. Ask, who am I not? Because if you ask, who am I, you may be wrong. A 5-year-old can understand that logic. Imagine 5 genius scientists sitting around an apple. And in a brain storm, you could say, in a brain pool, they discuss the form and shape and appearance and size of the seed inside the apple. And one says, I think the apple of that size, the seed is that and that and looks that and that color and that form and shape. The other said, no. This is only in apples who have a different color, different form. And then that may be, but now, no, that's something else. The seed in the apple looks like this and that. After 10 hours, a little boy comes and says, what are you doing here? Takes a knife and cuts the apple open. And says, there's the seed. See, or you could take an onion, one layer after the other. They sit there and talk, how's the inner of the onion? And the boy comes in and says, wait a minute, and peels the onion off one layer after the other. You have the inside of the onion. See, and this is exactly how you have to approach the solution of the problem to the question, who am I? You would have to decide what you're not. And you would have to decide, how do I define that which I am not? I suggest to you to define that as something that arises and passes away. Otherwise you wouldn't experience the change. How about that? See, some people may say, well, yeah, I am the body. I am the changing body. Leave me alone. And they may be right. But they cannot say, I am that which I am aware of arising and passing away, which I witness arising and passing away. That I can't be. Otherwise, I would appear with it and I would disappear with it. There's a good fundament. There's a good basis. Now we can begin, if we agree to that. Good question. Who am I not? What I achieve as arising and passing away. And now I could begin to define. And as I define it, I already reach the core. Come close and close and close and close. And as I define it, that is why we say in the Book of Light, you should not meditate without knowledge. Because then you don't know what are you meditating. But if you define what you are not, you will experience these layers in meditation and easily detach from them. And when you have detached from all of them, you have reached immortality. Because all these layers are mortal. Please, this is something important to know. According to Book of Light teaching, the spirit is mortal too. Sure. You are surrounded by that spirit, by that highest layer, I must agree. And blissful in heaven and all that, but it shall vanish too. It shall perish. See, this is why the Brahmin did not like the Buddha. Exactly because of that. Huh? And they try to define the self and say, it is this, it is that, it is here and there, we will come to that. And they would, attack each other by defining the self. But the little boy who gets into the room and peels the layers of the onion and says, come on. He is the real wise one. And dear friends, in all seriousness and seriosity, I want to tell you, teach your children from the beginning these simple thoughts. Teach them you are now, little boy, maybe, but it will change. Don't be attached too much to that will change. And furthermore, you should teach your children from the beginning a scientific truth. Every doctor knows it. Every good medicine, every good medical doctor, every good biologist knows it. Every 7 years, approximately, you change your entire body. Did you know that? Approximately every 7 years. You have a new body. And by new, I mean you have a new head. You have a new brain. You have new eyes. You have new nose. You have a new lung. You have new intestines, new skin, new skeleton. Everything is new. Did you know that? So then, if that is true, and it is true, if you would be the body, you couldn't even remember time back. See? So when you are 50 years old, or just 40, you couldn't remember when you were 7, because you had 5 times a new body, so approximately. See what I mean now? With a simple physical fact taught in universities, you can prove that you are not the body, but that you just have a body. Because if you would be that body, you could not remember what was more than 7 years ago, and so on. As for example, yeah? See, we talk all the time about immortality, dear friends, and that we take a look at that which is mortal. We look like on a distance to that which is mortal, to our body. We don't deny it, we don't oppress it, we are no ascetics who, hurt the body to subserve it, all nonsense. The body will take over so quick you won't. Look at the monasteries, look at the Vatican, look at those structures, how much perversion there is. Because they took so much ascetics and so much force on them, trying to subdue the body. That's not how you do it. That's not how you subdue the body. You do it by study and meditation, for instance. Yeah? Now you may ask yourself, why should I detach? I don't want to detach, and if there is reincarnation, I want to return. Both is possible. No, I already mentioned it. But more and more people who have or had everything in life were somehow, strange enough, disappointed by it, dissatisfied by it. That's strange. I reached something. I achieved something. My great goals, of which I thought they would make me happy, and now I have them, and I stand like in an empty room, like before a huge wall. Why is that so? Why am I not happy? Because nothing that you can ever achieve in this world will make you happy, because it is contrary to your truly immortal, uncreated divine nature. So, that's the answer. Therefore, it may lead to a conclusion that, first of all, the nature of all. Of what does that nature of all consist? In willing, isn't it? We want something from the first moment that we are born until our last breath. All our powers, mental, physical, all these are in the service of our will. They are, so to speak, see, if you see somebody, it's a visible made will. His visible made will. Now, some poor person may tell you, some unlucky person or sad, or, well, that was not my will. I didn't want to end like this. It's not my will. So yes, it is. It is. It's the result of your will. You wanted something of which you didn't know to where it would lead. But you wanted it. You may not have wished the result, but you caused it. Dear friends, isn't this a wonderful teaching? See, dear friends, now you understand the theme of our lecture, the topic, detach from God. And by that God, we, from the Book of Light, mean the first emanation that leaves the source, which is adored and adorned by all religions in the world, knowingly or unknowingly, with the title of God, and as a God, which they may do, no problem. Just at the Book of Light, in your meditation, you will pass, and you can pass even that state, and withdraw, detach, even from that highest, and withdraw into the source. This is the whole thing about which I'm talking. And I waited intentionally to explain that title, Detached from God. See? Because for so many billions of years, our thinking has been drawn into a direction, into material world, I would say because of necessity. But now the time has come to offer a solution. And if I say we withdraw into the divine, by that divine I mean the source, nirvana, which is of course beyond that which left the source. It's just logic. And the Buddha confronted the Brahmins with that logic and said, of course your Brahmanas, they're wonderful, there's Brahma, there are the other gods and everything, and angels, but they all derive from something, no, don't they? Do they remain always there? Where do they go? I show you how now to go there. And not to stop interims at the first emanation, that you worship as a god. When the Book of Light is right with the definition of will, that our existence is will, then of course it has a problem. Because that which is in harmony with that will is happiness, right? And everything that hinders that will is what? Suffering. Therefore, suffering is impeded volition or impeded will. And there we have the definition of happiness and suffering in the last analysis. It reveals the extent to which the will of the individual is able to maintain and effectuate itself. Now this is basically, is obvious, should be obvious, and there should be no doubt. Because every act of will at every moment is defeated in everything we want or do. Why? Because it's transient. It just glides out of our grip sooner or later. And even if some of that will is fulfilled, the consequence, something turns against itself, and that's the consequences. And when, at last, when inevitable? In death. You have complete shipwreck. No, not true. See, this is a teaching that can be understood by a 5-year-old. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand this. And most people, even the most intelligent ones, are sometimes the most confused ones. They are not available for such teaching. But the time has come, dear friends. The time has come. And this is a law that always rules us from reawakening to disappearing of the entire universe. That means for one Mahamanvantara, 311,040,000,000,000 years. So eloquently described in the Book of Light, dictated by the great Chohan to me. So, this law won't change. No matter if you are here, on the moon, on the Sirius, in a parallel universe, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All circumstances that are in opposition to the gratification of your will are dictated by the law of nature. And they have an iron necessity. And they're connected inseparably with every act of will. And you see, will is life, life is will. You're here because you want to live. Basically, Book of Life teaches there's no life left, there's death or dying. Everything is in a dying process. And that's why the great Buddha said, I don't see people, I just see wounds. Wounds. And when there is life, if you want life, you want death, you just didn't know it. See, I compare that always to somebody who is very thirsty. And there's a tasty drink. And he tastes it, and it tastes good. It tastes good. Oh, it's so refreshing. But he didn't consider the fact that the drink was poisoned. A poison that you can't taste, but that works in about 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes he has great pain in his stomach. And he is aware of that the drink was poisoned. In the same way, life is poisoned by death. I hope that even your children are listening now, because adults are already too poisoned already with the taste of that drink, even knowing. You see, this is the drama. People know that life ends with death. I mean, they're not that naive. They be compared to somebody who says, I don't care. I want that drink. Let's say the drink poisons you kills you after 5 hours. Let's give it a bit more time. And they say, at least I had 5 hours of, what a taste this drink is. And yes, I know the time runs, but still I drink some more, because it tastes so good. And then they prepare themselves for the harakiri, I almost said, for the end. And in the end is suffering and pain. Especially the more so the drink tasted good and delicious. The more delicious the drink tasted, the more painful it is when the thing ends. Glory, glory to the Book of Life difference. Glory, glory. So we know that life is will, and will leads to death. Yeah, that's all it is. There must at last be death. An always over and over repeated collapse of life and thus of will. Now, of course, you could now continue with the comparison. One should never take a comparison, and stretch it too much. But you see, you die, or that to which you were clinging is dying, but you enjoyed it so much and said, I don't want to die. Deep in you is that desire not to die. And guess what? You'll get it back. Sure. See, the will to life is given. And you are reborn in a new womb, and you return, and you continue on your path. One may argue that's wonderful. That's the best that can happen to me. Oh, I can't wait to die, so to begin new, with a new body. Now my body is old, I want a new one. Dear friends, that is correct. But if one is attached to the pleasures of the senses, not knowing that everything is on the ascending arc to the spirit and all forms are refining, he may be reborn with a desire that is not appropriate anymore. He may be anachronistic. And yet here is offered a possibility not to repeat that process without destroying yourself. There you go. This is the offer that we make here. Haven't you at least once put in your life the timid question, if there's really no way out of this terrible self-dissension of nature. Always want and want and want. Wanting something that is impossible according to the very nature of this will. Is there at least a possibility to escape death? That's what everybody wants. He wants to cling. You see, the entire world is based on ignorance. No, on stupidity, a bit more unfriendly word, because they know they must die. They know that to which they cling must die, and yet they cling to it. And they identify themselves with that which has to die, and this is why they die. This is why it says that your body is your murderer. The murderer of your true self. The monad never leaves the source. It manifests in material world by reflection, identifying itself with the physical body and so forth and so on. And it is in a trap. Out of necessity, yes. Yes. Is this not a strange question? It's not simply by asking this question more not to explain than the problem of death itself. If suffering is the law of nature, how could it be possible to evade it? How can we face, or how can, in face of the unequivocal language of nature, that demonstrates to us, on every corpse, the inevitableness of death. Inevitableness of death. How could we then entertain a thought that it might be possible to conquer death? You can't, never, not even an angel. Not even in heaven. Even in heaven you have to die. This is the radical teaching of the Book of Light. This is why most religions don't like it, but they will be united by the Book of Light. If they understand the true meaning of their Bible and the Quran. The Quran teaches reincarnation and didn't know it. The Bible teaches reincarnation, didn't know it. All these things we are made aware of by the Book of Light. That was and is the great question of mankind from the beginning, how to overcome death. You cannot become dry when you are in the water. But you must leave the water. If you want to become immortal, you must leave the mortal. How else? Everything else is a theory, is nonsense. You can fill books with it, but it makes no sense. So how do I leave the body? By suicide? No way. A suicidal person comes back so quickly. We'll talk about that a bit later. If we would become immortal in the physical body, we would. Do you know what people would do with their God? If they would become immortal in the physical body, they would kick their God from here to Hawaii. Or to the moon. From here to the moon. Yeah? If our life were endless and free from pain, it wouldn't enter anyone's head to ask why the world is here. And constructed as it is. So this is because, you see, you can become everything in the world. Why? Because you are not of the world. The potter is not the clay. So he can do with the clay anything he wants. That's just an example. I do not teach annihilation, dear friends. I do not teach annihilation. Mankind is searching and searching and searching and searching for immortality. And religions offer their heavens. Right? But they promise something they can't keep. Can keep the promise? No. So without more ado, it is clear that the Book of Light reveals that possibility that leads beyond death. More and more people refuse to believe. Why? They want to know. They don't want to say, I believe this and that. For over 2,000 years it was normal and necessary. Why? Because we are in the excuse me, I'm looking for an English word, into the star sign of fish. Now there are different reasons why we call it star sign of fish or of Cancer or whatever. But I can't go so deep into it. Book of Light teaches all animals derive from man, by the way. It has to do with it. Good. Now, over 2,000 years, we were in the star sign of fish. That is a sign of belief. And this is why Jesus was called to a fisherman. Not real fisherman, it was just a symbol. If you take the Bible literally, you are in deep trouble, believe me. So now, people want to know instead of just to believe. See, there is a craving in man that wants to be satisfied. It is the craving as to his true nature. Finally, more and more people decide, oh, it's not out here. Oh, I'm not a man. Oh, I'm not a woman. Oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not the body. Oh, I'm not even my thoughts. Oh my God, what am I? And without the teachings of the Book of Light, you will never, 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 never understand. Because we were once sexless and we will be sexless again. And separation into sexes was never meant to be for the human race. Sexual reproduction was never meant to be for the human race. Now that gives you a hint that I am only hinting already here. This is just food for thought to encourage you to study the Book of Light. Click on the link. It's a PDF in German, so-called PDF. You have all the teaching, all 10 volumes. Illustrations, everything explained. Handwritten as it was dictated to me. Some is maybe difficult to read, so what? Some is typed. Dear friends, age of science no longer wants to believe. Wants to know, right? This we know. But science thinks that they know, and they know about the physical side, no doubt, but they know nothing about the metaphysical side. So they only know half of it. Book of Light presents the other half, included, excuse me, a completion of the physical teaching that science does either not know or does not use right. Like, for instance, embryonic recapitulation. It's just one of the things that science is afraid of, although they teach it. Good. So we want knowledge. What is the source of all knowledge? Perception. Correct perception is correct knowledge. Then we know, and then we understand, and then we have no questions, no more errors. But right now we are far away from that, right? Because it's the beginning of the teachings. And why do we always bring that teaching of the Buddha? Even if he never lived, it makes sense. Maybe it's a legend. It's not, but, you know. Because it's so easy to understand, and it makes us aware that we too have that yearning in us. Buddha had everything. A harem, he was the son of a king, he had a kingdom, 3 palaces, music, all young people, everything. And, well, you know, he was a 16-year-old boy with a harem of 100 women no older than 18. It was party time, right? Mm-hmm. And the father didn't want him to see any old people. No, and because some wise man came to him and said, hey, when this young boy will find out how life really is, that there is old age and death and so forth, you will lose him. He will rule the world from another point of view, which he actually did. So if you want to study the life of the Buddha, you read the Book of Light, and you will find, or you take any Google or whatever. But you see, so I can just point here at it, just to give you an idea that this young man had everything, but he was dissatisfied. Therefore, later, most of the students of the Buddha were sons and daughters of kings. Mm-hmm. They went to him in the jungle. They left everything. And so he said, oh, I don't know, why am I dissatisfied? I have everything. He left the palace one day. And he saw old people, sick people. It was stinking. He saw corpses. He saw, this is incredible. What is this? Well, his bodyguard told him, well, that's a corpse. No, that's an old man, sir. Will I be that old? She sure will, Your Highness. What is this then? No, well, that is a corpse. You see, with the worms there crawling out of the eyes? I will be like that? You will be, Your Highness, but we will take care of it. We will burn you, you know. You will be devoured by fire, so you don't have to experience that. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. That make the Buddha went home. 3 of the most youngest and most luscious and lustful women came to him naked and said, Buddha, you want to watch us, how we enjoy ourselves, and then you join in? And he said, please leave me alone. Leave me alone. Not now, he said, I have to think. Because he couldn't forget what he saw. Old men, and then corpse, and then the sick, and then all this stinking in the streets, and this, and no more nice perfumes from the palace. He said, oh my God, I cannot escape that. And he left another time too. And in the middle of that suffering, he saw a monk in yellow clothes, robes, who walked through that and smiled, was happy. Buddha said, who's that? To his bodyguard. But that's a monk, Your Highness. Why is he so happy? What? He gave up everything. I guess that makes him happy. The Buddha went back to the palace and said, so. And then he spoke with his father. He said, Father, I will leave you. He said to his wife, I will leave you. She said, I just give birth to your son. I will leave you. The father said, you can't do that. You will be king. No, I will not be king. Father, he said, I love you dearly. So, Father said, stay. No, because no matter how much I love you, you will leave me. How? When? Well, when you die. And you, my wife, I love you so dearly. And my child, you will all leave me. Yeah, but the father said, but you know, we are Hindus here. You believe in reincarnation. That's even worse, said the Buddha. That's even worse. And again, I will see you, I love you, and you leave you again, and you leave me again. And over and over and over and over again. Well, said the Father, that's the wheel of samsara, of rebirth. Buddha said, no. I want to see if there's an escape from that wheel of suffering. I want to see it. I will not come back until I find this, and then I will not stay. I will just tell you then that I find it, or found it. I will leave you. And no tears of the father, no tears of the wife, no crying of the baby could hold him back. And he left the palace. And he went out into the wilderness. And then, this is what I told you the story in the beginning, when he found a guru and everything, it's a long story. Then he reached Brahman, and he said, that can't be it. He said, there must be something more. And he reached beyond Brahman Nirvana. That was, you see, the time in India was right for a Buddha, because the highest in manifestation, we call it the supermonad, was reached. But that from where the highest came, that not yet. Now by the Buddha. And I'm talking to you here about detachment from everything. From nirvana you can't detach. There must be an end of it. See, when you leave your room, you can say, I left the room, and go out there. But that's all in that comparison. You cannot leave more than your room, right? You can only leave your room. The room is there. You cannot go beyond leaving your room. Do you see what I mean? So then that is the same with nirvana. It's the end of suffering, dear friends. It is the end of all desire for seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking. But thinking leads to it. Leads to it. But then you even stop thinking. This process, you will and can and must, if it's not only theory for you. Oh, we can talk hours here. The theory. This process you can reach in meditation. Soul breath meditation. You reach the source, nirvana. You become immortal. I'm talking all the time here to you about true immortality. Timeless, eternal. Something that has a beginning and no end is not possible. There's no such thing. Believe me. I know you wish it, but no way. What arises must pass away. So you are the onion right now, from your anatta view, so to speak. You are the onion. And we together now unpeel you, or that which you are not. More and more and more and more until no layer is left. You are not disturbed anymore by any desire holding you back in this insane world ruled by insane people.
But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop.
Und wir sind nur ihre lebenden Zeugen, sondern ihre Gestalter.
The process we have designed can promote peace.
Loved ones, you're coming under the smile of his approval.
Politicians and religion are the fall of man. We don't need no institution and no government. All we need is that which once united us all. Let the angels' teaching be your guiding star. It is the book of light the book of light and love. With the book of light, you're guided from above. We don't need no holy scriptures, no Bible or Quran. We have that where they all come from, in our very heart. We are the new generation of innocence and peace. Knowledge is our leader, the truth shall set you free. It is the book of light and love. The book of light, the book shall lead us all. Now we're just a few, but soon we shall be living in a world of peace. With the book of light shall be the book of light, the book for you and me. And in the darkest hour of Kali Yuga, when the world is burning left and right, there is a pillar of hope, and it is called the Book of Light. It is the Book of Light.